Another legal case in the news. The George Zimmerman defense has rested. At the end of yesterday's day in court, the judge, Deborah Nelson, said her idea is that today we will have a brief, maybe 1 hour discussion over the jury instructions, the instructions that the jury will get, and then we will move into the closing arguments from the state, followed by the closing arguments from the defense, and then finalizing with a rebuttal closing argument from the state. That hasn't happened. As of about 40 minutes ago, we were still in the middle of discussions about the jury instructions, about how many different lesser charges will be presented to the jury as options. We don't need to get into the minutia of that now. I want to point draw your attention to two things. Number one, the Broward County Sheriff's Office put out a video asking for people not to riot after the George Zimmerman verdict takes place. I believe that there could be significant unrest in the streets, regardless of what the verdict is. I think there are individuals, this case is so highly charged on both sides that whether it's a guilty or not guilty verdict, there are likely to be very angry people in either case. And clearly the Broward County Sheriff's Office is worried about it, Lewis. And Lewis, you've spent quite a bit of time in Broward County over your life. Is this maybe not particularly to that area, but are they right to be concerned about the reaction to the verdict?
Yeah, I would say so, definitely. Like I talked about with you, I predict that someone will try to kill, or multiple people will try to kill Zimmerman if he gets off. And, I wouldn't expect chaos in Broward County when this goes down, but I would definitely expect a lot of angry protesters.
Yeah, and as I've said before, I think it's pretty clear what happened here, which is that none of this would have happened had George Zimmerman not initially confronted Trayvon Martin. Trayvon Martin was unarmed. The stories about George Zimmerman being pinned down by Trayvon Martin just don't seem to factually stand up to basic analysis. We talked about that earlier in the week. You can check out those clips. I won't spend 5 minutes rehashing it again today since we just did it a few days ago. But I believe there's a very, very good chance that George Zimmerman is going to be found not guilty, that he will be hailed by conservatives, which is really weird, actually, that this has become a liberal versus conservative type of thing. That actually strikes me as pretty odd. And I think that the prosecution has not done a particularly good job. If they get a guilty verdict on any of these counts, it will be incredibly. It will be a huge victory for them, I guess is what I'm trying to say. The defense has done a good job of basically embarrassing a number of different key prosecution witnesses. And while I think that the entire framework of the stand your ground law has allowed this case to go in the way that it has and may likely lead to George Zimmerman being found not guilty, I just think that the entire context in which this was prosecuted was just an absolute disaster.
Yeah, but with so little firsthand witness evidence of exactly what was happening
Right.
on this dark, rainy day, what can you do?
Sure, and the burden of proof has somewhat been reversed. Normally, when you kill someone, the burden of proof is on you to prove that it was self-defense. But because of the combination of stand your ground laws and the definition of what second-degree murder is in Florida, it is the burden of proof of the prosecution to prove that George Zimmerman did not fear for his life. And that's a very, very difficult thing to prove. We'll be watching the verdict. We'll have news for you as this happens.